Yes, I think we are now live. We're now live, so we should actually be able to start in a few minutes. As we wait for, I think she's almost joining us, so that we can be able to start. Yeah, so thank you guys for joining. Thanks. We should actually be able to start in a few minutes. Yeah, so let me try and check if we can be able to get hold of her. Wow, I don't know what's wrong. Let me just share. Yeah, so we should be able to start in a few minutes.
We are actually live.
Yes, we're already live. So we just want to start. We're waiting for one of our guests to join us, and then we should be able to start in a few minutes. But thank you very much for joining us today. Today we're actually talking about the new trends, new technological trends during this time of COVID-19, and also looking at post-COVID. And in the studio today, I have Brian Nyagol. Brian is the founder and CEO of Brainverse, which is Brainverse Technologies, which is a company that provides different technological solution and also branding, building websites and other stuff as well. And also Diana Kwamboka, who is founder and CEO of Drop.Spot, which she'll actually tell us about. Yeah, thank you very much, Brian. And Diana, please welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you, Calvin.
Yeah, so I would just like to request you guys to introduce yourself, as also we wait for June to see if she can be able to actually join the conversation. Yeah, so we'll start with Diana.
Okay. Thank you so much, Calvin, for having me during this time. In case you're not able to hear me, you can just let me know so that I see what I can be able to do. So as you mentioned, I'm Diana Kwamboka, the co-founder actually of Drop.Spot. So Drop.Spot is a startup that I just started a few weeks ago. It hasn't been in the market for so long, actually. So I'm still new, still learning a little things here and there. So the reason why we started Drop-Off is because we noticed a lot of physical shops are closing because rent is very expensive and then business is also down. But at the end of the day, they still need to do business so that they can be able to get some income. So the major challenge is how then do I connect the goods that my different clients have bought to them? How do I deliver it to them? Maybe on a day you have like 10 people, in a day you have like 5 people you need to do deliveries to. And then these 5 people, all of them will not be available at the same time. So maybe someone will give you an appointment at 8 in the morning, the other person will give you an appointment at 5, the other one, different time frames. So we said, how about we give you a spot where you can be able to drop your items, and then at whatever time your client is available, they can just come pick it up from a point, and then it saves the whole inconvenience thing. So yeah, that's Drop.Spot for you.
Okay, well, that's nice. So when you said, when did you start it?
Last month.
Okay, well, that's nice. So we're actually going to also learn about that. And Brian.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Calvin. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. My name is Brian Nyagol. Thank you. My name is Brian Nyagol. I'm the CEO of Brainverse Technologies. Brainverse Technologies is an ICT company. What we do is that we enable businesses and people to actually establish a good or some like the desired digital footprint, because we've been doing this for a long time, and we've Brainverse has been on for about 4 or 5 years now. I began in campus when I was in my second year. There's those 2 years that before everything was rolling, that we were just starting up. So it has been in operation for 5 years now. So so what we do is, like I said, we help businesses and individuals to establish their digital footprint. And how we do that is we do that by helping them get online, by building websites and building systems for them. We also do digital platforms. For instance, we do optimization. We also do digital branding, business branding. And one thing that we also do, we do mobile application development also for our clients. So we sort of like try and help businesses have an all-round digital footprint and not just be in one place at any given time.
Okay. Oh, that's nice. So I think that's really cool, and I think that's what businesses need. I mean, could you probably maybe tell us more about some of the services that you have, and some of the services that actually you have in Brainverse Technology, and how do you feel that your services is helping people outside there?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we have 4 main services. I didn't put them that clearly, but one of them is website development, mobile application development, systems development, and brand design, business brand design. So these services, I mean, over time, and I would start by talking about our mission, or rather our mantra. We want to be able to grow with businesses and with people. We've realized that over time, people, make the big IT companies forget about people who are starting up, like now Kwamboka here, and you find that they get a roadblock when they want to establish their online system. So we are coming in saying that we want to grow with you, because that is what our tagline is all about. We want to grow with our clients. So we offer these services, and a friend of mine says, Gabriel mentioned that we do this at relatively affordable costs, that any business that supports, that wants to start, like Kwamboka's business I started 1 month ago, can be able to access our services easily, and just by getting in touch with us. There's not a lot of steps you need to make to get access to our services.
Yeah, I think that's Kwamboka. How do you feel that your business is kind of going to have an impact? I mean, you're just starting a business right now, and why did you have to start? I mean, your business, and right now is COVID. I mean, people don't want to risk to start actually new things. How do you feel that your business is kind of like it's important for creating an impact, and how are you going to actually implement it?
Okay, so the main reason why I started it during this time is because so number one, let me start with a little bit of history, because I have been an entrepreneur before. So I've done online business before. I've sold stuff online before. So for those of us who have things that we're selling online, the major challenge, as I mentioned before, is normally delivering it to clients. That is like our major challenge, because we don't have a physical shop where this person can actually come and pick up the item. So that becomes like your major hiccup. You'll realize you're spending a lot of your money when it comes to deliveries, because you have to maybe hire a rider, make sure the item reaches the client. So why particularly this time is because the challenge became even harder, because most of the shops are now closing. So for example, if you're an online business, there might have been a place where you are using to maybe store your items, but then that person is telling you, man, times are really hard. The rent is, I can't even manage the rent, so I have to close shop. So if this person is closing shop, most probably they also have an online presence. So the challenge becomes, if I have online presence and someone else needs to buy this item, how does this item get to this client? So now that is where Drop.Spot comes in. So I feel like the timing is right. Reason being, most people are also moving their businesses online, because if you can still make your sell online, why do you need a physical space? It beats the whole essence of it. So if you can still make the same sales online, then if I were a business person, I'll definitely move my business completely online, so that I'm not spending a lot of money on rent. And then the other thing also, rent in town, especially on a very strategic location, is very expensive. So then that means the cost of your items are also going to be high. So what about you go online, reduce the price, and then get more clients? So that is how I'm looking at it. And then now as Drop.Spot, what you need to do is you just come, then your items will be dropping it at our place, and then your clients can conveniently pick it. So I feel this is a very right time for us, because most of the people need this particular service, because most of the businesses have transitioned to online kind of business, not the physical space kind of business.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a very good answer there. Yeah. So, I mean, looking at some of the aspects. I mean, right now everybody's getting online, and everybody's trying to push their business online. Brian, what are some of the trends in terms of technology that we looking at? And I know one of the things that your company has actually also developed, one of your applications that actually people can be able to host meetings online and all that. Are we going to see a lot of changes in terms of in terms of new technology coming up, and how is Africa going to actually adapt into this kind of technology, or are we still going to be actually consuming the normal, the big companies' technology? We're using Microsoft Offices, we're using Zoom and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Calvin. I think there's going to be a lot of change in terms of how we consume technology as Africa, and especially Kenya. I normally think that Kenya is at some point, or like is considered one of the most advanced countries in Africa, and we really in terms of technology consumption, we are above there. We are just right above above the red line. So I really think that there's a lot of things going to happen, a lot of things are going to change. And one thing that I can already see is there's going to be a lot of preference for non-contact meetings, especially business meetings. You find that before COVID-19, everyone really fancied physical meetings. Everyone wanted to really, if I want to meet someone for business a business chat, I had to meet them in a network, meet them somewhere, along Longmoy Avenue. But now that's going to change, because everyone will want to prefer online meetings, not because we are preventing ourselves from getting infected, but because it's cheaper, it saves time, it makes sure that you get your point straight, and you can please see someone in the eye and have a fruitful discussion with them. There's also going to be a lot of more of home-based solutions. Right now, the solutions we have in the market are more majorly those that are in the office spaces, solutions that help me outside my house. But now they're going to see a shift in people's attention, and they will start building solutions that help people right at the comfort of their homes. That is something that we expect. Yeah, that we will actually have new solutions that help people right at home. Another thing that I expect to happen, which is already happening, is governments and governments, counties, districts will now start initiating legal policies that govern these digital solutions and that govern technological solutions, or that govern that technological advancement. For instance, now we have the data privacy law that is being talked about here in Kenya. We have the digital tax that being talked about here in Kenya, and many other countries are going to adopt that. Many other countries are going to bring up laws that enable the government to harness the digital technology at its fullness. And another thing that is actually happening, especially in the tech industry, is companies are shifting.
Yes.
Companies are shifting from offering normal brick and mortar businesses, normal brick and mortar services. I'll give you an example. And this has affected, this is why us as Brainverse, we decided to establish a very strong COVID-19 response in our company. And companies are shifting from just doing the normal IT services into doing things that enable business to grow. One part of our COVID-19 response, number one, was trying to build a solution to help businesses to transition smoothly from office setups into remote working environments or work from home teams. And that is why one of our biggest successes in our fight fight against the impacts of COVID-19, or our fights to align or to adopt things that allow us to be comfortable even when COVID-19 is here, is Startup Suite. It helps any business, any form of business, to be able to manage the three key things in the business. That is people, systems, and people, systems, and processes. Even if you stop working at the office today, are you able to assure me that your business will run the same way when you're at home? For most businesses here in Kenya, It's not the case. For most of us, it's not the case, because there is Microsoft Teams, there is Zoom, there's all these. But then the problem is, how do I coalesce all these systems, bring them into one, so they can help me run my business? That is what Startup Suite is coming up to. And many companies are now, look at Gumzo. Gumzo started also because of COVID-19, and that is why we're also starting Chamber. Chamber will be an online meeting platform, or is already an online meeting platform that allows people to meet by the tap, think something that only the six-figure companies used to do. If you're invited for a meeting at Microsoft, you're given a link, or at Google, you're given a link, and just click tap and you're in. Only people like Google used to do that. But now it's even easy for companies as small and as starting as Diana's as Drop.Spot to now harness technology. And I think that it is actually high time for all of us to be able to prepare. And you asked a question about adoption and how Africa is prepared. I don't think we have to prepare for anything. People who didn't know about Zoom now know about Zoom. People didn't know about digital stuff. Now it is the people who will educate you about these things that you didn't even know. So I think it just happens that we actually, we have people who are very, very fast adopters. We learn fast, and we learn under pressure. Like COVID-19 has put us in pressure. We are learning every single day, every single day. So I think we are prepared. We don't have to adopt. It will just come automatically. That's what I think.
Yeah. What do you think, Diana, in that aspect as well?
I think he is right. Sometimes you just have to. Some things you just have to learn as you go. It's very hard for you to prepare for almost everything and anything that comes your way. So let's say like COVID, is there anyone who was prepared? No one. No one even foresaw it. Yeah, but look at us now. This is like our new normal. So I think as humans, there is a way you're made in which you can adapt to any situation and be flexible enough. So the thing that comes along your way depends on how are you going to take up the challenge. Are you flexible enough? Are you open-minded? Or are you someone who says, oh my God, it's the end of everything? So it depends on how as a company you are, and then it will determine how you're able to adapt to the different changes that come along the way, especially in the tech space, because disruptions happen every single day. That is something that you always have to be prepared for. Like you always should be expecting it anytime, any day. Yeah, so I think he's right on that one. I can agree with him.
Yeah. So I mean that is really good, and at least June is actually joining us, which is pretty good. June, thank you very much for finally making it. You can actually unmute your mic, and I'm sure you'll be able to hear you. You can actually unmute your mic, June. Yeah, just unmute your mic on the screen.
Much appreciated. Yeah. I'm sure you can hear me now.
Yeah, we can now hear you, June. Yeah, welcome, June. We would actually like you to introduce yourself because we're already having the conversation is going on. So please kindly introduce yourself, and then just tell us a brief of what you do, and what do you think about the online presence and people moving online. What can you say in that aspect of people going online? Do you think there's a lot of opportunity in that particular area right now?
All right. Thank you so much. Please allow me to apologize for logging in a little bit late. I think I've traveled over 140 kilometers today. And for some weird reason, my Apple machine has a lot of security features that prevented me from logging in on time. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hi, how are
Diana.
You?
Great. So my name is June Chepkemei. I'll just try and summarize who I am. I'm formerly a journalist, practiced journalism, both broadcast, radio and TV for about 6 years. I went into corporate, Safaricom, where I was managing PR and corporate communications. And about 5 years ago, I moved to government, and a new project that is the Konza Technopolis, popularly known as Konza City. we are building a new smart city for the country that is expected to support in the looking at investment differently and generating wealth for the country differently. Historically, this country has generated wealth mainly through agriculture, and there was a need to begin to leverage intellectual property, that is innovativeness and knowledge that resides within Kenyans, to build new wealth and new knowledge. And that's why we call ourselves a smart city and an innovation hub. What do I do at Konza? A couple of things. I head the marketing and corporate communications division. I'm also running innovation programs, having pioneered the Konza Innovation Ecosystem Initiative that has run hackathons and bootcamps since 2018. And the latest bootcamp that we had was virtual about a month ago, where Brian, with his innovation that startup suit, actually took the prize, and we're so proud of him. He participated, and the innovation is not only a new idea, but it was something that stemmed out of the need immediately after the announcement of COVID-19 a challenge globally, and it's already commercial, helping him run his business effectively. As you can see, unlike me, he's a bit relaxed and he's more composed. He doesn't have to run around. I also am a coordinator of a project that is called Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. This is a new university that you're establishing for this country for strategic national importance. We are focusing mainly on sciences, STEM-related courses at postgraduate level, that's master's and PhD, because we are cognizant of the fact that we need to spend a little bit more time to interrogate and innovate and think about solutions for issues that is affecting us. And none of the institutions at the moment has that mandate of just focusing on research and innovation for economic development. I coordinate that project. We are at a point where we're going to build the actual physical building. It's being supported by the South Korean government. Apart from that, I'm just a happy Kenyan.
Yeah. Thank you very much, June. I think that's quite exciting. I mean, I think I'd like to ask you one quick question.
Yes.
I mean, you've been in communication quite a long time. How do you how can we communicate during this particular time? I mean, especially technology companies. What are some of the effective ways of communication in those companies right now? A lot of things. People right now depends a lot on technology, and if, for example, maybe Brian, maybe one of his CRMs are not working, like people will be like, Brian, where are you? Your website is not working. How do you even communicate to your clients? Because right now communication is very key. Everybody's looking for internet. The internet is not working. So how can companies effectively communicate, especially technology companies, during this time of COVID-19?
All right. I'll try and summarize and say that communication has changed over time. When I jumped into this field fresh from high school in 2006, everyone was talking about PR, public relations, which was defined differently, and we handle public relations differently. With time, we moved to public relations and communications, because again, it was seen to be different, because public relations was more external. And then an aspect of internal communication had to come in, where companies started thinking of technology for internal communication and external communication. We now move to what we call integrated marketing communications, where you have to leverage all the channels of communications, that is traditional media and new media, to communicate, both what we call above the line, that's when you're using TV and the rest, and below the line when you're actually engaging with the people. Now, in that aspect of communication, we still have two categories. We have B2B, which is business to business, and then we have B2C. And of course, there's internal communications. Now, in terms of B2B, these are companies and enterprises that are talking to their key stakeholders, mainly the people they do business with. For instance, if you are a manufacturer, you're talking to your distributors, or you're talking to a financials. Now, there are new technologies that has come up, including CRM solutions, that enables you to have an engagement platform platform between your suppliers. It's very secure, and this is a very intense interaction where you have to constantly update and get feedback. Then in terms of B2B, we are businesses now communicating to consumers. Now, this is more open and everybody can access that. And we have options of both social media and solutions, such technology-enabled solutions, including applications that allows us to interact. Now, allow me to narrow down to social media. We've got customer care moving to social media, where grievances that are raised by businesses are actually public. And so we're seeing a lot of focus on real-time engagement with customers. But then in the middle of this conversation, you realize that even businesses are now moving towards a large focus on internal communications, where you need to manage your teams remotely. And I think that's where the solution like the one that Brian Nyagol came up with to enhance and be able to manage, to see what their teams are doing. Now, this is the space, Calvin, where all of us have an opportunity to innovate. But of course, there are already existing platforms that are Western. Now, it's time to begin to think of our role, because the way we engage is completely different, and we are thinking of decent work. This is an SDG requirement. How then do you manage your workforce in a way that you dignify them? And I can go on and on in communication, but I will allow you to probably guide me in specific areas that you need me to focus on.
That's really, I think that's really good point there, because I mean, communication cuts across, and you've talked about B2B and B2C, and right now, you know, especially technology companies, you know, people are busy, you know, doing meetings online and all that, and definitely they need to really understand how effective one can be able to communicate. I think, Brian, I would just like you probably, I think that question would pretty much go to everyone. In terms of looking at education, you know, education has been very key thing right now. What do you really feel that, as in Kenya, we actually ready for e-learning? I mean, in the last few years, most campuses actually been promoting a lot of distant learning, e-learning, but you come to realize that actually we were not prepared for any form, mostly for e-learning. A few universities are doing e-learning, but government has not been able to crack it very well. What do you think about, you know, coming up with some of e-learning solutions? Do you think there's an opportunity there? And do you think that's something that people can be able to explore? And what are some of the challenges that might be experienced in terms of advancing e-learning? And I know, Diana, also, you know, you've worked in you know, learning, you know, you've worked with learning institutions. Probably maybe you can share on that aspect as well.
Thank you very much, Calvin. I would just want to add a few points to the communication bit and add on to what June has spoken about. I think June is a very experienced professional in communications, and I really like to hear how she dissects communication into different forms. It really is very informative. Thank you very much, June. With regards to trends in
Brian, you're muted, please.
Oh, sorry. I muted by mistake. So just saying, in line with COVID-19, there are certain things that businesses have to do differently. And one of them is communication. Because what is the objective of communication? Is to actually inform, educate, and something else that maybe June knows better than me, but we have to ensure that our communication does the job it's meant to do. And for it to do that, for example, at a time like now, everyone is so tired of hearing about COVID-19, right? I see it on the TV, I see it on the news. When I walk around, I see the hand washing cans everywhere. So we are so tired of actually getting to see everything about COVID-19. So one thing that a business can do to increase the positivity of their message is to just send the message without mentioning COVID-19, without mentioning anything about COVID-19. It really helps, because I would simply avoid anything that has COVID in it.
No, but it's an important thing right now. You have to know what is going on in the world.
That is true. That is true. But I know people who never they just close themselves. Like, they know where to get the information. They only get when they want it. But it really helps if we communicate, because at the end of the day, if COVID-19 goes away, we will still remain with our pen as a product. So right now, when I'm communicating about my pen, do I have to say in this time of COVID-19, this pen will stand with you? No. I simply have to pass my message, the value without COVID-19, and forget about COVID-19. People are still doing business. People are still needing our services. So we just need to be able to be positive enough for them to be like to still like our message. And probably something else we need to do is just to express empathy in our messaging, in our communication. Because guys, so it's like express empathy without telling me about COVID-19.
Okay.
Express that you care about me without telling me I'm dying. Or something like that. And just one other insight I have in that before I go to the education part is we need to, or we as companies or any kind of company, we need to invest right now in customer education. And why is that? Because customers now have a lot more time in their hands. It's time to educate them. It's time to use the time we have or the time they have to actually let them know more about not just what you're selling, but what you stand for and why you're doing it. That customer education. So with regards to education and how technology is affecting education, I think I agree with you a lot. We need to come up with enough solutions to support education online, e-learning. However, I feel that with the current digital divide, we are not prepared and we are not even close to getting prepared because a huge number of people don't have access to devices that can get them to listen or to listen into educative content from anywhere. That is number one, access to devices. Secondly, access to data, internet is still a problem, right? And then the whole thing about the digital curriculum, it's been tested widely by the government, but I do think a lot needs to be done, and a lot of research, a lot of response, and a lot of reiteration of the whole process and the whole idea needs to be done before we're fully prepared. So what I can say to out there to many innovators there, I know already innovations are revolving around in edtech, and I really want to say that there's still an opportunity to come up with something that completely demystifies education technology.
Okay. Would you like to add something, June, in that aspect? I'm sure you have a lot of in the last, a lot of people who are innovating actually around education. What do you think? Do you feel that people are actually taking advantage of this situation so that we can have new innovation around education and even promote, promote learning from home?
So I'm going to wear three phases in my response, and I'll start the first phase as a mother of a child who is going through e-learning. I think it's awesome. Given an opportunity, I will not take my child to school. I'll allow them to learn from home because the concentration is different. I see my 8-year-old son just interacting with the gadgets, and at times I'm so embarrassed because I cannot help him. There are things he does and he's able to engage with the teacher, and he's on Google Drive and he's already uploading his work. They're doing the exams real life, and it's just amazing. So for me, young people will benefit more on technology in learning because they are more curious and it enables them to concentrate. The only challenge would be they still need to interact in real time. You need them to build people skills. You need them to play. In fact, the other day, I had to join their PE class because they are seeing it online and they're able to, to follow the PE. And I know it was awesome. So picture this. I am seated at home. Some of us are forced to set up a home office. I'm having work or I'm just doing whatever it is that I'm doing online. My child is in class online, and we all take a break to either grab something to eat, and it's just amazing. Now that is as a mother, and I think for me that's the future. In terms of as an industry person, it gives us an opportunity to build new knowledge, to come up with our own solutions. We've seen the capabilities of Zoom, and there are people who, the other day, Brian will also bear me witness, when we were conducting the hackathon, we needed a solution that can enable us to manage entries and to evaluate innovations in a more in a credible way. And just one of the counselors, one of the teams that we're working together asked us to give him about 24 hours, and he crafted a solution that we are now using for all our hackathons. So we don't need to pay some of these big companies to buy solutions for us to host our own products. Isn't that an opportunity? Yes. Is it earning? Yes. Okay. Now, I'll also talk as a student of communications. Now, as a student of communications, I look at technology in different ways, but I'll just highlight the few ones. One of them is virtual reality. Now, we need to utilize virtual reality to deliver learning in a different way, that we are able to actually simulate our environment and be able to interact in real time and get engaged. The other technology that I think we need to innovate around and utilize it is augmented reality. In marketing, this augmented reality that superimposes computer generated images is now bring about impact, especially the marketing field. And I think it's an opportunity for all of us. Artificial intelligence, is that the future? How are we preparing ourselves as humans to be able to engage with artificial intelligence and improve our ability to deliver? I look at big data. I just mentioned my son learning and interacting with this gadget. Imagine the knowledge that is able to generate on its own that can support other students, because the way they learn and they interact with issues is completely different. Imagine the impact of e-learning in just generating models, training modules that informs the future of learning. And I can go on and on, but I also talk about machine learning and such kind of a thing. So the future of technology in learning is great. Is it possible? The answer is yes. The only reason why we had to stop as a country is because we're still struggling with the imbalances. And if we were to get gadgets, because I managed to support ICTA at some point with the digital devices. And the greatest challenge with digital devices is the children you're giving those digital devices may not even have storage at home. They may not even be in a position to charge, and so on and so forth. So as a country, we need to do a lot more in terms of last mile connectivity, in terms of power, and even internet. And we saw Loom the other day being launched. Those are the possibilities. We are now able to assemble our own gadgets. And I'll pick just a gadget that my son was given in school. This particular gadget. This is a grade 3 child. He's able to do so much with this gadget, and his entire syllabus is here. It means that we can deliver learning cheaply and in a more effective way, and we can actually monitor how our children are learning. And I can go on and on. But what I would like to encourage businesses like the one for Diana and Brian and those who are following us, think through solutions that will benefit the rural folks who are probably struggling with aspects of connectivity and even ability to utilize these gadgets. I mean, that's how I look at it. Practitioners in communications, we must adapt to technology to be able to, effectively engage in terms of communication.
I don't know if Diana would like to add something before we go to probably our next question. I mean, you've also worked in the education sector in a while, so maybe you can be able to add something. Yeah, Diana, maybe you can be able to add. Can you be able to add something? Just unmute your mic. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so just to add on what Brian and June have mentioned, I don't think I'll have so much to say, but during this COVID, I've been able to see how different education sectors are reacting to it. So when I mean different, I'm talking about the private sector, and I'm also talking about the public sector. So for the public sector, I've seen the struggling a little bit because like right now we have like a WhatsApp group, and then from the WhatsApp group, you all have to generate Zoom links for different classes. And then paying for that account is also a challenge because now people have to contribute some money just to pay for the links. So it's a little bit of a hassle for the private sector. And then for the for the public sector. And then for the private sector, I've seen they've taken it up with a lot of positivity. That means parents are willing to pay fees for online classes. Because the other question becomes, are parents willing to pay for fees even if the classes are online? Because you're having a situation where a parent is saying, since my student is not going to school, the value is a little bit different. But then at the end of the day, we know the value is more or less the same. It's only that now the mode of delivery is different. So now that's the other thing that you find schools also struggling with. So are parents willing to pay, even if we have these teachers coming, teaching every day, classes going on normally, are the parents willing to pay for that bit? And then there is also the expense bit of it, internet, which I think Brian and June have also mentioned. When we're talking about the resources that we need for these students to be able to learn, do they have the required devices? Do they have internet? Because bundles is also very, very expensive. So how do we support these students so that they are able to still stay online and be able to learn consistently? So I think these are things that we will be able to get with time, because if you are a student and you're told schools are opening next year, January, for heaven's sake, if you're a parent, you have to sit down and say, oh my God, what will my kid be doing all this time? You have to keep him busy in a one way or the other. So I think it's government to actually rethink and reconsider, is this something they want to invest in? Is this something they are looking at or exploring, that is e-learning? Because before, e-learning in government institution has, I don't think it has ever worked actually. All this time it has normally been just the normal physical classes every now and then. But then right now I'm also happy because you see government sometimes works when they're forced to. I'm sorry. So sometimes they work when they're forced to. So like this situation for me, I feel like it's like they have to do it. Like there is no way around it. You just have to adapt to this situation and be able to make things work for it to work now. So yeah, I'm happy about the COVID thing because it's making us learn new things that we could have learned before. It's also a sad time, but you know, blessing in disguise, I'd call it like that.
Calvin, we can't hear. You're muted still.
Mute. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm also just saying that it's also a challenge, at least for the internet providers, so that they actually be able to provide. We start looking at quality internet. You know, you find that when you go to developed countries like the US, I mean, there's really good internet almost everywhere. So I think that's also a great challenge to us, because for us to be able to effectively promote, you know, technology, there must be infrastructures, and obviously infrastructures are like, you know, internet providers and all those kind of stuff. So I think that's also a challenge. And I also just wanted to throw this into you.
Calvin, allow me to disagree with you on that.
Okay.
Kenya is one of the few countries with the highest speed of internet compared to the United States. And I'll tell you this, I have been to many cities there as late as January this year. Loading time in Silicon Valley, not even any other part of the state.
What?
You cannot compare with Nairobi. I can tell you for sure. I could easily get someone online right now with load at the same content and you see the difference. So in terms of connectivity, as a country, I think we are a bit stable. Remember, we are connected by about 3 independent fiber optics. You know why? Because we are a country that has a coastal line, and you know the NOFP and the fiber that run through the Indian Ocean, yeah, that the entire world depends on. So I think in terms of connectivity, we are good, but then maybe access in terms of cost.
I mean,
is where we might have to think.
I mean, there's been a lot of, I think the speed, I mean, I agree with you, connectivity is really good. And even if I compare, let's say our East Africa, Kenya still stands really good in terms of internet connectivity compared to Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, you know, but I still feel that a lot should be done in terms of, you know, that connectivity. But what you're saying is really true. I mean, Kenya has one of the best internets. And I think that can take us.
One more thing, sorry. One more thing. When you go to any restaurant in this country, public spaces, you can easily say what's the Wi-Fi password. Imagine you can do that in the States. The only place that you can do that is Tel Aviv, because they have open connectivity for the entire city. So I want to agree with Diana in terms of the challenges of technology, but in terms of access.
Yeah, access is.
Imagine Tukomele.
Yeah, it's true. Access is very good, but I'm sure we still need a lot done. I mean, let's shift a little bit to medicine. For the first time in history, we've known how essential actually doctors are. Like they're the main essential workers. They're the ones who outside they are working and all that. But how are we looking at technology helping these doctors probably be able to advance their communication and all that? And Brian, I mean, in day to day, you make applications and all that. Have you interacted with some medical applications, and how do you feel about the future of medicine in Africa in terms of even things like telemedicine? Do you think those are some of the things that actually we can be able to achieve?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot that technology can do in telemedicine. And one of them is access to like horizontal access to medical care, especially therapy. I mean, psychological care for that matter. So anything that can be able to allow, or anything in medicine that can be accessed remotely, it gives us access to a doctor in India, a doctor in the US, a doctor in the UK, a doctor in South Africa, and even gives a Kenyan doctor an opportunity to consult for another person in another country. That is one thing that is one way in which technology is actually opening up the world in order to lateralize the medical access or medical telemedicine, to enable telemedicine to actually work. So I think that is just one way. Another way is that a friend of mine was mentioning to me, I just don't know the exact statistic, but we don't even have enough doctors per group of people here in Kenya. And that means that, and most doctors stay away from their workstation, like from where they work. It means if a doctor has to spend 1 hour going to work, or a nurse has to spend 1 hour going to work, if that doctor is a consultative doctor, I would be happy to just go to maybe Mater Hospital and then just have a doctor talk to me on the screen and a nurse supporting him from the hospital, just to help diagnose me, instead of having a doctor come, take 1 hour traveling, and it's just coming to talk to you and just see what's happening with you. And a nurse can actually be able to tell him what's happening with you and interpret to the doctor, and then the doctor can actually make sense of it. So I think telemedicine is very important, and most companies and hospitals need to adopt it. One of the things that I would say technology can help in medicine is collection and utility, and connection and analytics of data. You talked about big data, and you wonder if there is an outbreak of cholera or typhoid here in Nairobi. Can the medical facilities be able to derive a meaning of like an influx in people going to the facility with a specific infection to something that is outside of the hospital? Like, are we taking enough data to actually tell us we don't have infections of typhoid every year at this time of the year in October? Why this year? Can they detect certain shoots in statistics in sicknesses in Kenya? Can they? I don't think many facilities can do that. But if they were able to get to get the system to be intelligent, to collect enough data, and data that they need, not just collecting data. People collect a lot of data, but they collect a lot of meaningless data. Although if you talk in terms of big data, no data is actually meaningless. But before you collect data, you have to know the end goal, so that you collect data in and around your end goal. So I think that medical facilities need more initiatives to collect relevant data that can help not just them, but also the government to get certain inferences from all the occurrences of things like that. So I think there's a lot that needs to happen, and I would prefer any day if a doctor spoke to me. If I go to a booth in a hospital, and then the doctor is at his home serving me, and then spends the next hour, instead of coming to me in the hospital, spends the next hour talking to someone else. Yeah.
Yeah. June, would you like to add something before maybe Kwamboka said something?
I mean, Brian nailed it. Telemedicine is the future of medicine. If you look at our country, just trying to retrieve some statistics from a concept that I developed a few months ago about medical tourism before Corona. And it was a conversation that was very hard to push, especially in the government, where you're beginning to ask yourself, so you want to attract medical tourists to Kenya. How is that even possible? Yet we know that a majority of Indian economy is, are highly dependent on medical tourism. We are sending patients to South Africa. We are sending patients to India and the US and the rest Europe. But then surprisingly, as a country, we are attracting a lot of medical tourists that are not documented from the East Africa mostly. Yeah, a very tiny hospital tucked in some parts of Rift Valley called Kijabe Hospital attracts patients from Rwanda, Southern Sudan. We are serving actually Southern Sudan. We are serving Rwanda, Southern Sudan, Burundi, Uganda, Tanzania. Just to name a few. And if you remember recently, there was a president who died, and there was an allegation that he couldn't Nairobi.
Oh, sorry for that. Okay.
Yes. June, we lost you a bit.
Telemedicine. If we are able to have a facility that will, oh sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're fine.
That goes to show that technology can enable us to have seamless connectivity between those doctors in India with our doctors in Kenya, and we are able to perform an operation, and it becomes affordable and it becomes effective. That's the power of telemedicine. Right now, within our table in Konza, we have a request from Mombasa County asking us to help them set up a telemedicine facility. When we first had the outbreak of Corona, you saw the Ministry of Health Kenya connecting with Wuhan in China to engage with the leadership and to figure out what are the issues. Now, 8% of our GDP, 8% of our GDP is spent on health.
Yeah.
That tells you that there's an opportunity to innovate around health and those solutions that can support provision of healthcare. But there are ethical issues there, Brian. That the way medicine is structured is that a doctor is supposed to see, assess, and then prescribe, isn't it? Right now, what are some of the policies around e-medicine that should enable ability to to be able to interact with the patient and you're able to prescribe medication as a doctor. Number two, information sharing. We still know that health records are very confidential. How do we ensure that that record is safe? So we need to innovate around that and provide solutions to applications that can guarantee security. Now, if today you're going for an X-ray in, say, Mombasa, and you need to consult with a doctor in Nairobi, you're able to upload the results, isn't it? And you give to a consultant in Aga Khan, Kenyatta, or whichever hospital, and you get real-time results. Those are opportunities. But I also needed to mention that earlier on in my career, I interacted with a solution that was called Daktari something. Can you not remember that?
It was Daktari Online.
Yes, it was an USSD capability that was almost allowing patients to talk to their doctors, and then you're given prescriptions. But the question was, how sure are we that the patient will be able to interpret that information effectively and get medicated? There's a room to innovate around pharmaceutical products, and allow me to just say this briefly. That let me just guess, Diana, who do you think is the primary care provider in the country? Just guess. Between doctors, nurses, clinicians, blah, 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 who do you think is the primary? Just guess.
Me. I'd guess the doctors.
Who?
The doctors.
The nurses.
Primary. Brian?
Or nurses, yeah.
Brian?
I think the nurses. because they spend most of their time with the patients.
Calvin?
Yeah, I mean, I can say actually, for me, I think the nurses.
Good. So I would also guess as nurses. But imagine we are all wrong. The primary healthcare providers in this country are pharmacists.
Okay.
You know why?
I see.
Every time you are unwell, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
I mean,
I should go get some Panadol.
Self-prescription.
You just Google what is the problem, and then you go.
Self-prescribe.
Go to Kelvin, take it up.
Yeah, that's 10 nil. That is just, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's very obvious.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is very true, but again, I think we still need a lot of technological advancement. Looking at things like artificial intelligence that you mentioned, June, a while back, and looking at visual reality. We've seen this advancing, and even we saw what Rwanda's done in terms of robots. Rwanda has a few robots that are actually able to check in, help in terms of small, just little observation, like probably get tests if someone has COVID-19. So I think there's a lot of things, and I think there's a lot of innovation that is needed when it comes to to medicine, and I think that's really, really good. And I think as we almost comes to an end of this conversation, it's really, really been good. I just wanted, probably Diana, what do you think about probably having more? Do you feel like we're going to have more people going online, or do you think once this corona is over, then everybody will be back to their normal lives? Or do you feel that we might actually go with the trend?
I don't think it's feeling. I think it's a matter of it's time for us to go online, whether you like it or not. That's like where everything is going. So it's not a matter of I will feel like today I'm going online, tomorrow I don't feel like going online. The world as it is right now, everything is transitioning to online. Even medicine that we're talking about right now, we are looking at it being something that is not going to be in person kind of thing. So already things are transitioning. So I think it's time. Corona has just made it like be more ready than it was before. Corona has made it happen earlier than maybe expected. So there are some things that we could have waited way longer, but now due to Corona, we have to take it up and now. So I think going online is non-debatory. It's time, it's now, and it's never later.
Yeah, that's Brian. Would you like to add something? I mean, since you create a lot of products.
Yeah, what I do know is that we don't have an option. COVID-19 will go definitely, and I normally tell people that right now COVID-19 is where HIV/AIDS was in 1998, maybe to 2002. Those days we used to be told, if you see anyone in red lipstick, please run away. That's exactly what we're being told now. If someone coughs near you,
Brian, is that the reason? Is that the reason I'm single? Is it the red lipstick? Just clarify that.
No, we are no longer in the AIDS time, so you really need to look for the reason why.
You don't cough anywhere. People will run.
Yeah, so
I thought he meant the lipstick.
No, that was way when I was a kid, and we were told that if you see anyone with red lipstick, or like they told us whose mouths are red, so we just knew that that's something red. We were told they probably have a syringe somewhere with some sindano, they can actually give you AIDS. So that's how COVID-19 is now. If someone coughs, you're like, you stay aloof. So COVID will go away, definitely. Just like nowadays, we are not so afraid of HIV/AIDS. However, the impacts of COVID will remain with us for the longest time ever. Why, if I can now run half of my employees can run effectively from home, why would you convince me to have to pay rent for a full capacity office in Westlands? Why?
Yeah.
And something is at Brainverse we've been working remotely for the past 4 years. That means that when COVID-19 came, we were not affected operational wise even a bit on how we do our stuff. We have teams working, a guy working from Meru, Kisumu, Usenge. You know where Usenge is? Deep in deep in. I think it's in Ugenya actually. Ugenya.
Sense of
So we have another person working from Meru and Kisumu and Homa Bay and all these places. So if I can be able to run my business completely online, I won't have to pay for an office. And us as Brainverse, we don't want to pay for an office anytime soon, unless something happens that we have in an office. I would be spending close to 70K or 100K a month just for office space. I could give that to someone in campus to come and intern with us. So the impacts of COVID-19 will stay with us, and we just have to adapt and align with them, because every business, technology offers efficiency, ability to inform, and you to be aware of what's happening. That is why one of our backbones of developing something like Startup Suite, because I want to know who in my team is doing what and what is their impediment. Do they have any bottlenecks? What are they working on right now, and who are they working with? And if I have to get access to my customer, if I have to give, let me tell you something, not see story, but something very small. If I get a prospective customer, for let me say Diana gets someone who wants to deliver goods in a matatu coming from town, or let's say I meet a customer in a person who wants a new website in a matatu, am I able to ensure that by the time I alight in South B, that customer is locked in? I will save their name on my phone as Kelvin website Nganya South B, something like that. On a Friday. On Monday, I can no longer remember. Sorry?
Kevin website matatu.
Yes, exactly. On Monday, I want to look for Kevin, but I can't remember his name.
You look matatu.
No. Let me tell you, Calvin, you're just saying it because you have just said it now, but you will forget. You scroll through 5,000 contacts looking for Kevin, you might not find him. So how is you find him on Wednesday when someone else has already given him taken the business away from you? That is why things like startups really matter. So we have to adapt. People want things chap. Can you keep up? Technology can help you keep up as a business. That is why we have to just keep up. We can't go back.
Okay. June, do you think government institution actually can be able to keep up? Because I know that's where also we have a big problem. Government institution actually adjusting to technology. Not all of them, but I'm just saying some.
Wow. Okay. So it's a yes and no. I'll just give you an example of my day to day, then you can help me, you can answer yourself. So my office is 170 kilometers from where I live. Yeah. I live in Nairobi. I work in Machakos, Makueni, Kajiado. 70 kilometers. Basically from CBD to my office, 70 kilometers. From JKIA to my office is 40 kilometers. Now, before COVID-19, my office used to be 10 minutes. We were in Westlands, Capital West. It was a walking distance from my house. So there was a bit of discussion on a policy on, they were calling it flexi working hours. We had just moved in February to our new office, 70 kilometers. And just like Diana said, it was a blessing in disguise, guys. COVID has been a blessing to some people in as much as it has been a disaster in the entire world. Our productivity level, we had a meeting, the management had a meeting chaired by the chairman, and chairman reported to us that our organization performed at over 90%, rated by the authority that supervises parastatals. Yeah, that tells you that effectiveness of people remotely is higher than when they have to spend 2 hours on the road. Personally, I've added a few kgs because I'm more rested. I'm able to plan my life. So after the meeting was attended by, the physical meeting was attended by at least 5 managers. The rest of the management joined us on Teams platform. And immediately after the management meeting, we had another meeting chaired by our peers. Again, the management attended. We had 100% attendees. Very rare do you find meetings with maximum everybody attending that meeting and concentrating. And part of the output was a site tour. And I remember our CEO saying, in a few months' time, those of us who joined us through Teams platform will go on a tour of site using drones with us. Yeah. So government has approved a policy where we are able to quickly sign and approve things online. We are now able to approve e-signatures. Effectiveness of technology cannot be overemphasized. And whether government is prepared or not, I think they have no option than to jump and utilize technology for prosperity. Are we prepared? We have the network, we have the backbone, but we just need to ensure that we have the capacity to utilize it. If you ask me in the future, and maybe as I answer that, the future of work right now, you'll start seeing adverts in the paper saying ability to work remotely. As a qualification.
We use that all the time. We use it all the time.
No, maybe they won't ask.
Brian, stay humble. Brian, stay humble.
We use it all the time. But yes, that's very true.
And people and again back to offices, the likes of Brian will no longer rent offices in Westlands, but they will rent bigger houses so that they can have a home office. Yeah, and so you will see even real estate changing. You remember we had gone back to the excuse, 1 bedroom, two bedroom. People will now start renting 4 to 5 bedroom apartment because they want to work from home. I was projecting in my own thinking that if I had money right now, the kind of a real estate project I would develop, and someone write this, Diana, I trust you. Someone write this down and remind me someday.
I'll write that down.
The future of real estate. I don't trust Diana. The future of real estate is we will have estates that will advertise this way. It has chemistry. The way people say there's a gym and a swimming? They'll be saying there's a gym, there's a field, there's a chemistry lab, there's a biology lab, there's a physics lab. Why? The only reason we might want our children in high school to go to school is for practical. Now we'll start hiring, they're called lab technicians in our estates, so that our kids can actually go online and then they go to the lab for practical. Diana, you need to not laugh. I swear this is the future. Because what else? What else are we going to do in school? Sasa mtakuwa mnaongeza gym, swimming, playground, and chemistry lab, blah, blah, bio lab. That's the future. Thirdly, I think jobs will be created. Why? Because I don't need to work for Brian as a developer, for argument's sake, and push him to pay me 150,000. But instead, I'll give Brian some hours of my week. I'll give Diana some, and I'll give Calvin some. At the end of the day, I will earn more. So we'll move to the Western way of earning. So I'll end up working for 4 employers, and what we negotiate will not be, people will no longer be looking for permanent and pensionable jobs, but they will be looking for hours. So I think the quality of life will improve. Now, what does that mean to the young people? We must skill, reskill, and continuously improve our agility for us to be competitive. I just thought of something strange, Calvin. Why am I paying rent in Nairobi? Can I go to my mother's village in Tidres and work from there? I think I can, as long as I invest in an office and good connectivity, isn't it? But for an ambitious Diana, why is she in Nairobi? She can be in Tel Aviv, in Israel, and working in Nairobi remotely. I think we are gonna get into the real world as a village in reality, that I can actually live in Australia but work in Kenya, or I live in Kenya but work in Australia. I think that's the future.
Exactly. I think this has been quite a very good discussion, and we're actually going to end it right there. Thank you very much, Brian. I would just like you to probably say your parting shot, and also kindly give us your contacts. How can people be able to reach you? Probably mention your website as well, so that in case someone will be watching this conversation later, they actually be able to reach you. And the same to Diana, and also the same to June as well.
Thank you very much, Calvin, for the opportunity. And I would like to say that many companies have this thing we call our COVID-19 response. And us as Brainverse, we do have something that we want to do for businesses that are out there that wants to take advantage of the digital technology to enhance their business. And this is why I am giving a gift to any business that is working hard to make sure that they stay alive. I'm giving a gift of I can be able to give a 1 hour consulting to any business that contact me on positioning their business digitally, especially in this time of the pandemic. And now that we are going to we need to adopt new forms of communication and new ways of doing things. I'm able to give any business with a team of up to 9 in one session that digital positioning consulting. And anyone is watching can actually email me at remote@brainverse.co, just to get the opportunity to have myself and part of my digital team talk to you about positioning your business digitally in this time. That is remote@brainverse.com. So lastly, I'll also say that Brainverse is an IT company, and we hope one of our biggest dream is to actually grow with every single small business. And when you get out there and when you're actually winning, we are part of that win. So growing with you is what we want to do from the very beginning. Our website is brainverse.co. Brainverse.co. That is where you'll get everything about us. And then another thing I want to say last I leave, Startup Suit is actually something that helps your business to actually transition smoothly from an office team to remote team. And I would like every person to try it out. It is free to use for up to 14 days. You just try it out and see if it works for your business, and then you see how it goes.
Oh, fantastic, Diana.
Okay, seems like I'll be knocking on your virtual door, Brian, because you've talked about services that I might be needing very, very soon. Number one, I don't have a website, so I'm actually working on it. It's in the works. So my parting shot is we should actually take so much advantage of technology. It has a lot of unexplored opportunities, and I have a feeling that since we young people have a lot of time, we have a lot of things to explore here and there, we don't have so much to lose. So I think we can explore all those options that we have, see how much we can benefit from technology. And I really, really like and I've learned a lot from June, especially the last few sentiments that you've said. It has actually opened up my mind a lot. You've thought about the whole thing on a completely different angle. I had not thought about it like that. So this session has been very informative for myself. I've learned a lot. So for now, there we are. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram as Drop.Spot.official. You can follow us on Facebook as well, Drop.Spot1. So those are our contact details for now. But Brian, I hope we can have our website up and running soon enough so that the next time I'm on this session, I'm able to say www.Drop.Spot.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Calvin. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Thanks, Diana. June.
So first of all, I'm really appreciative. Thanks for inviting me to this session. I've met a good team of inspiring young people. Diana, Kwamboka, please keep doing what you're doing. Proud of you. Are waiting for that website. To Brian, you're amazing as always. What Brian didn't tell you is that Startup Suit, the MD is his wife, a former Kiswahili teacher who is the pillar of the business. an awesome lady. Please say hi to her and keep
I will. I will.
I mean, I would like to speak to young people, Calvin. I have a passion for the youth, especially those who are keen to come up with solutions to challenges facing us, and not those who are looking for jobs. And I'm saying that with a lot of humility because I'm employed. They say half of the time people want to reproduce what they are unable to do in other people. I think that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to encourage young people to be the best of themselves. And when I see young upcoming entrepreneurs, I love it. I am happy to support them any day. But I've also faced setbacks, Calvin, from young people. Is it possible for us to practice what we call delayed gratification? Let us not be so quick to look for money. Sometimes money follows passion, right? So if you are passionate and are genuine with what you are doing, you'll definitely earn it. There is a saying from one of the books that I'm reading. I love reading.
What are you reading now?
This is my current read.
Wow. Yeah,
The 5 AM Club by Robin Sharma.
actually, I'm reading
Sure, you guys know this author.
I'm reading the CEO, the Sufferer, the Saints, the Sufferer, and the CEO. It's quite also interesting.
Yes, awesome. It's an awesome book. So I picked a quote that said, never work only for income, labor for impact. If we cannot labor for impact, we'll definitely earn an income. I've had setbacks with young people. My last week show I had to postpone. I have a YouTube channel, Chepkemei. Kindly subscribe, Diana.
Yeah, it's actually a very interesting YouTube channel.
And whoever is watching, because of integrity issues that were cited, they could be false, but we as young people need to hold ourselves with a lot of high regard. Let's be honest. When we say that we run a startup suit, let it be a startup suit, not a vision, not an imaginary startup suit. Because at least for Brian, we've seen it, we've touched it, we've felt it. Let us be honest with what we do. That's one. Two, let us also be patient and give and I've had there was a time I was negatively painted on social media by a team of young people whom I had supported by linking them to a business for them to grow themselves. Unfortunately, in government, the processes are very long and they're tiring, and young people are not ready to wait for a 90-day credit period, is it? What comes to their mind? Huyo dem lazima ametugonga. So you see, you lose an opportunity just for not being patient. So let's be patient. And most importantly, I'm here to tell you stories. I'm here to celebrate young people. Let me know what it is that you're doing, and I'll tell you stories around innovation, entrepreneurship, and technology. I am June Chepkemei on Facebook. Follow me. I am June Chepkemei on Twitter. I am June Chepkemei without an E, like June, because I was trying to sound very, young and blah blah on Instagram. And yeah, and I'm June Chepkemei special on Gmail. Yeah, and thank you so much. Pleasure having you.
Yeah, thank you everyone, and thank you everyone who actually was able to join us. Please make sure you also subscribe to this YouTube channel. Next week we will be actually talking about we'll actually be doing something on agriculture and also AI, which is quite interesting. So we're hosting a few guys who will actually be taking us through the future of artificial intelligence, virtual reality. So it's going to be a good conversation. We'll be doing that next week, probably next week. So thank you very much, everyone. And thank you for staying on a little late. Please kindly bear with me, but I really, really appreciate. And also thanks for actually coming in.
Thank you very much, Calvin, and it's a good opportunity.